Yeah, I think so.
Keep it all the way up there?
We're ready, Mary.
Calls meeting to order.
Roll call. Mr. Bassford?
Here.
Mr. Capola?
Here.
Mr. Gorman? Mr. Kleiner?
Here.
Mr. Terrell?
Here.
Ms. Ullman? Here. Mr. Purdy?
Here.
Open public meeting announcement. On January 4th, 2012, notice of the meeting was mailed to the Mainland Journal, the press, and the Current, and duly posted in council chambers.
Tonight, for a moment of silence, just want everybody to remember the loved ones in their life that they've lost, that's touched their neighbors, their family, and their friends. Thank you. Councilman Kleiner, please lead us in the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of minutes?
Okay.
We're approving these minutes. We're approving. We discussed about some additional review.
For the closed session, so that we not be voting on those this
How
evening.
about regular
Meeting, I can take a motion and a second, and then a roll call vote.
Motion approved minutes of regular meeting, May 22nd. Second.
roll call?
Mr. Bassford?
Yes.
Mr. Capola?
Yes.
Mr. Gorman is absent. Mr. Kleiner?
Yes.
Mr. Terrell?
Yes.
Ms. Ullman? Yes. Mr. Purdy?
Yes. Got new council committee reports. Have any reports from any council members on any committees that they're...
Infrastructure committee met to discuss the road program. We got some direction from the township manager to the engineer. They're going back and they're going to review all the roads, which ones, a 1 to 10 rating, which ones are the worst, which ones can be put off for some time, and they're going to come back to us with the recommendation of what's immediately needed and what can be put off.
Good. Anything else?
We met briefly as a grants committee this past week and kind of discussed some of the challenges with the budget situation and going after grants with matching funds, but largely kind of understand that most of our department heads are actively pursuing grants for projects that we would be spending money on anyways to help offset those costs, and make
a few developments from the economic development. We've been talking a lot about trying to solicit some outside developers to come in and go after, target some large big box stores and whatnot. Well, I came across a group, the ICSC, the International Council of Shopping Centers, 50,000 members worldwide, and they have a new government relations chair. To talk to him, they're doing a forum in Atlantic City in September, and their plan is to have 3 to 4 mayors speak about what opportunities there are available for developers in their area, so I figured that would be very appropriate for us. I had some dialogue with the gentleman from the organization, and we're going to set up and hopefully sign the mayor up to go down there and represent Galloway, and I'd be happy to accompany you if you want to go down there. And I think that's a great opportunity for us. Like I said, 50,000 members worldwide. So
do you know if David, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Do you know if David Cordish is a member of that?
I don't know. I know the Walk, and the Walk in Atlantic City is a member, the Hamilton Mall, the Shore Mall, all the local existing Cherry Hill Mall.
Tangier, Crete, and all all the managers, all the big ones.
Yep.
Yeah, they're going to be in town. We got, it's strong. That was a good invite. It replied to his email, and I think that it's definitely on our radar to go to make it work.
Yeah, we've got some great things going on in Galloway. We got some nice incentives on the table, and I think now we just got to let people know about it. So
great. Okay. We're going to go down to 11. Our planner Tiffany is here to give us a show.
Will we post them? Yeah, it is cold out there. It's dry in here though.
We have an ordinance on for public hearing regarding the clustering regulations, forestry and wetland management regulations in the Pinelands area. This is an ordinance that is mandated by the Pinelands Commission. We, the planning board updated and re-examined their master plan to look at the impacts of the proposed changes, and it modified some of the Pinelands requirements, not requirements, but modified some of the guidelines within the Pineland standards to basically fit the clustering program into Galloway Township. The bulk of this ordinance really deals with clustering. There are two other aspects of the ordinance, which include permitting wetlands, changes to wetlands management practices, which is how you restore or clean up or do things within the Pinelands areas that are designated as wetlands. There's also a provision that deals with forestry, and that's how you do a forestry management plan, how you cut the trees, how you disc the trees, how you chop the trees. I'm not going to bore you with that. If you have questions, we can go into it, but Pinelands, I defer to them on those issues 100%. However, the bulk of this ordinance that you should be concerned with, and that I'm going to go over with you tonight, deals with the clustering provisions. The clustering provisions impact only the Pinelands areas. That is the area that is west of the Garden State Parkway. And I brought my zoning map, and some of you have seen this, and I'll show real quick. Essentially, it only impacts the rural and forest area designations, and that would be west of the Parkway. Anything that is shown in the yellow, which is rural, 5-acre zoning, and anything shown in the dark green, which is the forest area 5, forest area 20, and forest area wet. That's 5-acre zoning, 20-acre zoning, and the wetland is 45-acre zoning. So in these areas, it's the only area that is impacted by the clustering use for the colors yellow and dark green areas. Under the clustering program, essentially your base zoning, and we'll use the rural 5 as the example, because in the forest areas, after reviewing all of the existing dwelling units and the existing lot sizes, with the exception of 2 or 3 properties, there's not going to be any cluster development out there. And those 2 or 3 properties will accommodate 5 to 10 units, nothing substantial. So there's very minimal, if not inconsiderable, impact in the forest areas. In the rural area, it impacts the ability of a minimum of 500 units. So think how big it is out in west of the Garden State Parkway, how many units we already have out there. This only impacts 500 units. It only impacts a property that is being subdivided and creating more than 2 dwelling units. So if you have a property and you have a house on it and you're doing a subdivision and creating 1 lot, that lot does not need to conform to the clustering program. If you have a vacant piece of land and you're creating 2 lots and there's no homes, but you'll be building 2 homes, that has to conform to the clustering program. So that 500 unit minimum excludes out those properties that already have a house on it and cannot create more than 1 more lot. In the R5 zone, the minimum lot size is 5 acres. The clustering will require a minimum lot size of 1 acre. That doesn't mean that you're going to get more units than you would get on the property, however. If you have a 50-acre lot with 5-acre zoning, you can get 10 residential units. The difference is that those 10 residential units will not be on 5 acres. They will be clustered in the upland areas with minimal disturbance to the balance of the site on 1-acre lots. The balance of the property, the balance of the land that is not developed, will be set aside either as part of a homeowners association or as part of one of the lots that is being created with deed restrictions for conservation and preservation so that it cannot be further developed. There are not many properties that are greater than 20 acres in the R5 district, so you're talking about the possibility, in many cases, for 20-acre lots to be subdivided. You're talking about 4 lots in each subdivision. So there's not many properties that you're going to see with large clustering of development. Pinelands Commission, in order to promote the clustering program, let the municipality determine if it wanted to allow for bonuses for development. Essentially encouraging you, if you have smaller lots, to combine it with other properties. And if you have more than 50 acres, you get a 15% bonus in residential density. If you have more than 100 acres, you get a 20% bonus in residential density. I left that in the ordinance because, in my opinion, if you're going to, it's not a lot of units that are going to be added. There's very few properties that will be able to even take advantage of the clustering program. Those properties that do need to take advantage or are required, I shouldn't say take advantage
that are required to cluster have to change the way they would have otherwise developed and will have additional development costs. Let's give them the 1 to 4 units that they may get depending on how big their property is. And again, we're talking about very minimal in terms of bonuses. We're not going to be inundated with residential development. So the basis and the premise of the whole ordinance is that everything will be developed on 1-acre lots. The balance of the land will be preserved with conservation and deed restriction easements, either through a homeowners association or part of one of the existing lots. The Pinelands Commission did allow in their ordinance for the land to be dedicated to the township. I did not include this in this ordinance. That does not mean the land cannot be dedicated to the township. It means that if they want to dedicate it to the township instead of one of the other options, they have to come and get approval from the governing body to do so and present that to the board as a waiver from the clustering provisions. You never know, it might back up to a park, we might want to have it as open space. And that's the sum of it. The lot size requirements are 1 acre, however, in our existing zoning, the minimum lot width is 150 feet, the minimum lot depth is 200 feet. Of course, to get to 5 acres, you need more than that. I am maintaining, and the ordinance will maintain, a minimum lot width of 150 feet. So, in essence, what was intended when we created our original zoning with 150-foot wide lots will still be 150-foot wide lots. The side yard setbacks currently are 30 feet. We're keeping 30 feet. We're not reducing that, so that because 30 feet still allows ample room for development. The minimum rear yard was 70 feet. In general, all of the open space is going to be behind these lots, so we don't need a greater rear yard setback because they're not going to be pushed all the way to the back. They're going to have a big preservation area behind them for the most part. And the front yard setback was 200 feet. That's the scenic corridor requirement. All development had to be 200 feet back. Not all development west of the parkway is 200 feet. Older development is much closer to the street. You see the older farm homes, which are within 30, 50 feet of the street. Some instances that we've allowed for reductions. Under the cluster program, we are going to require a 100-foot setback, with the exception if someone has a large lot development and they can put a road in, then you're creating your own community of sorts. On a cul-de-sac, you can go down to 75-foot front yard setback, because that's its own little neighborhood, not consistent with anything else in the area. There are other comments in here that deal with what can happen in terms of deed restrictions on the property, how you can use it for agriculture if it's already been used. You can allow for some different recreational, low-intense walking path type recreational uses. And that is the sum balance of the ordinance that you have for you tonight for public hearing.
Does it affect, Tiffany, the Right to Farm Act?
It does not. If you are farming on your property, you're not going to be subdividing it residentially anyway.
So how about if somebody did purchase a large tract and decided that they wanted to farm it? Like now, if you did buy a tract of property that you wanted to farm, the right to farm gives you the right to be able to do that. Does this affect that at all?
Only if it is one of the areas that is deed restricted. For instance, if I have 20 acres and I build my 4 units and I have the balance of that 16 units in a deed restricted conservation area, I am not permitted to farm that.
Okay.
If I have a farm and I want to do a subdivision and I am currently farming that land, I am permitted to continue farming that within certain regulations.
Is there any projects that is already underway through the planning stages that you know of through the township that this might affect?
Essentially, Pinelands has been mandating this before we've even adopted our ordinance. So there are people that have applications at the Pinelands Commission waiting for us to adopt this because they need to request variances. Some of them are minor subdivisions. We do have a larger subdivision of about 15 lots, I want to say. I'm not 100% sure. Off of Moss Mill Road, that's the Mona Road area. That's probably the largest tract that would be developed under this program unless someone is out certifying everything in one area.
You said, just so for public edification, you said mandate. We have no ability to say no to any of this.
Correct.
Right.
You can't say no. We can make modifications and try to fit it better into our community, but if we say no, Pinelands is going to mandate it and require it and override our zoning. So if you have a lot and you want to subdivide it, Pinelands is going to say, it doesn't matter, Galloway didn't adopt it, this is how we want to do it, this is what you're doing.
Does this by any chance affect the development property on the White Horse Pike? And
No, because the White Horse Pike is a regional growth area.
that particular piece of property that has approval for the age-restricted homes?
No, that is not a rural or a forest area, so they are not impacted. There is property off of ALO, off Robin or Linda.
Yes, yes.
That area is an R5 zone. That would be impacted, but there's not much there that can be developed because of wetlands.
So many projects that's come before us over the last couple of years, with people having plans, would that change them particular ones that we were talking about? Remember the homes that were off ALO?
That was in a town industrial area, so that would not be impacted.
Tiffany, what is the process of the Pinelands Commission if we were to not adopt this? So I'm not particularly fond of maybe giving them credibility in what I perceive to be an overreaching, effort at controlling.
1979, the Pinelands was overreached in many people's opinions. This is just another step in that process. Essentially, Brian, if we don't adopt this, the worst case scenario is that the Pinelands will now not recognize our zoning for the Pinelands areas. It could affect the whole Pinelands areas or just the clustering aspects, and they would then control zoning. And back in the 1980s, and someone here may or may not remember, before we adopted an ordinance to be consistent with the Pinelands came online 1979, 1980-ish. We didn't adopt our ordinances until about 1983. I have seen files where the Pinelands has approved things and the planning board had no jurisdiction. We could go back to that.
Yeah, that'd be bad. So it'd be less autonomy if we don't approve this resolution.
Correct. And the thing is, there are other municipalities that are going to be really hard hit by this. I looked at all of the properties. There will be some changes, but because of our pattern of development, because of the fact that we have this grid pattern, even though it's large lot development, we have a grid pattern of development out in Cologne area. Most of the lots are already developing the way the cluster program is envisioning or requiring. The difference is that the balance of the land is in deed restriction. Pinelands tells you where your building envelope can be. If they don't want you to build in the back, they'll tell you your building envelope's in the front. It also is, there are exceptions. If your soil is not suitable for septic where they want you to cluster, then they have to let you work with that. There are provisions in here for waivers based upon site conditions. We won't see many of those, but there are provisions. Most of the development is on lots that are 200 plus feet wide. You see, go down the Cologne, the large lot.
Yeah, I kind of find it charming.
It is charming, but if you go even further, though, there are areas where you actually have smaller lot development from years past, from when it was first starting to develop out there as homesteads, where people are clustered closer together. So the 500 units, the minimum 500 units that this impacts, based upon how many units we already have in the township and out there, I don't know that you're going to notice anything really significantly different compared to other towns where they are actually having major developments that are trying to come in and really change the character of the area.
Yeah.
We're pretty established. There's not much left out there. Most of the lots are smaller in size already. Smaller in size as in 20 acres, small lot subdivision.
Sure. Thank you.
Is there any other questions for anyone on council? Hearing none, since this is a public hearing, is there anybody from the public that has any questions regarding this?
Can we have a formal motion opening it to a public hearing?
Do I have a motion to open it to public hearing?
Motion.
Second.
We can have a roll call on that there or no?
That would be good, thank you. Mr. Bassford?
Yes.
Mr. Cole?
Yes.
Mr. Foreman is absent. Mr. Kleiner?
Yes.
Mr. Terrell?
Yes.
Ms. Ullman? Yes. Mr. Purdy?
Yes. Anybody from the public have any questions on the ordinance 1851-12, the land management code?
Let me go up the mic.
Yes, sir.
Tiffany, Galloway. Is anybody grandfathered in this? Is there grandfathered the area out of the property? Or that's it, you lose?
No, you're not grandfathered. That's one of the negatives of this ordinance is, let's say, it's the half negative, really. If you have a large lot and you have 20 acres and you want to give 10 acres to your son,
Yeah.
that's not a problem if you already have a house and you're only subdividing off 10 acres. Because you're only creating one new unit.
Okay.
And say you have 3 kids and you have 100 acres and you want to subdivide entire lot off for each of them, well, then they're forced to be on a 1 acre. And to me, to force someone to have a smaller lot, it's one thing to have a minimum lot size, but you can be larger. Here, they're saying you can be 1 acre, you can't be smaller, and you can't be larger within like a fraction of a tenth of an acre. It's a shame, in part, but there are, if you think about it, though, if you have 100 acres and you have 3 kids, the balance of the land can be owned by you, and everyone can still enjoy it. You'll just be building up front. So as much as that's why I say it's a half negative.
Well, or if you have 100 acres and you're planning on developing that to be your retirement and getting, 100 would be 50 lots, 20 lots. You're supposed to get 20 5-acre lots out of it. Now you're getting 20 1-acre lots out of it.
Actually, you're going to have a bonus too of another 4 lots,
Yeah,
so you get 24 1-acre lots.
If you buy in that area and you want to buy 20 acres and have a house, build your house on it, that's it.
And you can have 1 acre in front of that. That's
Really,
it.
it cheapens the land, in my opinion. If you have the land, you're stuck with what they give you. There's nothing. Let me go on. What did Mulligan Township do on this?
I don't know if they've adopted their ordinance or not, but they have to do the same thing. If they haven't done it, they're still.
They've done some changes on it.
Yeah, then.
With the wetlands count and Hamilton Township, I think, followed suit.
Everyone has to follow suit, essentially.
Not with the wetlands. They put provision in that the wetlands, say you have 200 acres
I'm familiar
and
with
half of it's wetlands. Okay, well, please tell us.
the wetlands issue in Hamilton Township, and I don't know what Mullins did, but what Hamilton Township did, that only applied to the bonuses. So for instance, if you have 100 acres and 50 of those acres are wetlands, you do not get a bonus on all 100 acres worth of development. You only get the bonus on 50 acres. You cannot exclude from the underlying density, the base density, the wetlands. Pinelands will not certify it, they will not approve it, and that's not what they allow for in Hamilton. What they said is, if you're allowing for a bonus, then you can only apply that bonus to the upland areas. And that's important for Hamilton, and they put that in there because they have a lot of large tract development, and this could result in a significant increase in additional units that they're not prepared for. We don't have that same issue. We don't have that amount of acreage consolidated together. It's not going to create it's only going to create a handful of additional units than we would otherwise see. So it's not the same thing. That's why I looked at all the lots individually. That doesn't mean we won't have someone who comes in for bonuses. The one tract that's out by the Parkway, Wants Mill Road, he's going to get maybe 4 extra units. In Hamilton, you're talking 20, 30 extra units on some of those tracts. So, and that's why they wanted to exclude the wetlands. So it wouldn't it would create more. It wouldn't change much for guys. And so you can't say 100 acres. You only calculate the upland for your base density. That's not permissible. You have to give them the base density based on the whole tract area.
The buffer area. I think wasn't there something involved in that too? The 300 feet buffer area.
They did something with setbacks to the buffers and what was included in and I looked at that as well. And again, we're already putting enough restrictions on these properties in terms of not letting them build where they want to build. The difference here versus Hamilton Township is the type of development we're going to get. We're going to get someone who has 20 or 40 acres and is doing a subdivision of 5 to 10 lots. Hamilton was trying to control the total number of units that could be built because they were getting lots of units. And so that's why they put in all those extra provisions, unlike what I put in the ordinance here for us to adopt, because you don't want to be penalized on your 20-acre lot that you can't build your house in an area because we told you you can't build close to the buffer. You're already being pushed all the way up front now. If you had the chance to go back further, I just took that away from you. I didn't think that was necessary.
I know Jack Black, the lawyer.
He's an attorney.
He was representing a few large-scale developers, landowners in Hamilton Township at their meeting. And when lawyers get involved, you have to start raising questions about what's going on. Also, piling credits. What happens with piling credit money?
The rural areas and the forest areas are not subject to Pinelands development credits. Pinelands development credits are only assigned to parcels in the preservation and agricultural areas to encourage development in the regional growth areas. This clustering program applies in the rural
by exit 44?
No, that, does not apply to the RCR zone, which is it is a rural planning area, but it is not residential, and that is not addressed in this ordinance, nor was it asked to be addressed in this ordinance.
Okay. Does that affect anything with the construction that Stockton College is looking to put forward?
No, Stockton College, in 2010, we adopted a master plan amendment to address Stockton's changes, and that took into consideration where their rural development area was changed to a regional growth area to allow for development. So that does not affect them either.
Okay. I just hope that we don't have any of these foreign properties that they're looking to put families on, and it's going to impact hard.
Well, again, there will be some people that don't like this. I know there's
Probably everybody.
a property owner, well, there'll be some that are okay with it, but there is a property owner that wants to do a subdivision, and he wants to do it his way, and he's been fighting with the Pinelands on how to do it. He came up with another method that seems to be working, and he found his way around it finally. So, you know, where there's a will, there's a way sometimes.
Okay. Hearing any, do we have any nobody else from the public? Close the public. Questions or comments from council?
Move ordinance 1851-12.
I don't like to do anything that the Pinelands likes to, but I guess we have no choice. Like Tiffany said, it probably doesn't affect us, it doesn't have an overall.
It'll affect us orders if we don't.
Right.
And the thing that really is upsetting is you got the person that we sit up here and say there's only a couple of them, but then a couple have voices, and that's the disturbing part about it. You know, when we say a couple, it's that couple that are going to sit back and say, I'm one of them, you know, and, you know, I understand where you're coming from, and I agree, and we have to do something with this because they are a lot larger than we are, and they dictate that what you do and what property owners do with their own property.
And when those couple come in, I mean, we can sit and try to work with them the best we can to see what we can do to minimize the impact on them. They can ask for variance from certain things if necessary within certain parts of the ordinance. It's, you know, when you stop and you look at it and you say, I'm being impacted because I can only build on 1 acre. Behind you is the balance of the land. And that land is still, even though you can't put your pool back there, you have 1 acre within to work with for all the things. And that's the area that Pinelands really gives you for disturbance anyway. So when you take the time to really look at it, as much as I don't agree with every aspect of it, for the most part, a homeowner is not going to really realize the difference, except for the guy who wants to build all the way in the back. But if he's going to do that, he'll buy the 20 acres and not subdivide it and live back there. And he can get away with that because he's not subdividing. So if they really want to do it, they still can do it. They just can't subdivide it.
Okay.
I think you did a nice job, Tiffany, adapting the ordinance to minimize the adverse effect to our residents. So I appreciate you doing that. And I've learned a lot about forestry and disc cutting and root thinning and
I have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second? Roll call.
Okay. Ms. Bassard?
Yes.
Mr. Coppola?
yes.
Mr. Foreman is absent. Mr. Kleiner?
Yes, under protest.
Mr. Terrell?
Yes.
Ms. Ullman? Yes. Mr. Purdy?
Yes.
Did you say no?
No.
I did say yes. I did mean no. Yes. The answer is yes. Thank you, Tiffany. As always.
Maybe here's a key here now.
It's good. Go down to 165-12. Payment of the bills.
Payment of bills. Do I have a motion?
Does anybody from the public have any questions of paying the bills? Hearing none? Second. Roll call?
Ms. Bassard?
Yes.
Mr. Coppola?
Yes.
Foreman is absent. Mr. Kleiner?
Yes.
Mr. Terrell?
Yes.
Ms. Ullman? Yes. Mr. Purdy?
Yes. Mr. Brady, 166-12, closed session.
Yeah, just a moment, man.
I like one at that.
You got it. There are 2 issues for executive session this evening.
Both fall under litigation exception to the Open Public Meetings Act, specifically Tartaglia versus Galloway Township, ATL-L-3703-11, and Galloway Township and IVT Local 676 grievance versus Tartaglia, docket number AR-2011-957. Those minutes can be disseminated if in fact a final resolution or settlement is reached and all closing documents are executed by the parties, or only after all appeals are exhausted. The other falls under litigation exception, which is Tilton versus Galloway Township, docket number ATL-L-331-12, and that falls under the same exception, and the same issue would apply in terms of the dissemination of the minutes, either after a final resolution is reached or after all appeals are exhausted. We anticipate executive session will be approximately 60 minutes. There will be no action taken following executive session this evening, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Do I have, under closed session, explosion of a meeting? Second. Roll call?
Mr. Bassford?
Yes.
Mr. Capola?
Yes.
Mr. Foreman is absent. Mr. Kleiner?
Yes.
Mr. Terrell?
Yes.
Ms. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Purdy?
Yes. 168-12.
This is a resolution requesting approval of items of revenue and appropriation under NJSA 40A:4-87 or Chapter 159.
Questions or comments?
Moves.
Roll call?
Mr. Bassford?
Yes.
Mr. Capola?
Yes.
Foreman is absent. Mr. Kleiner?
Yes.
Mr. Terrell?
Yes.
Ms. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Purdy?
Yes.
169 is also a Chapter 159, amend the adopted budget for the hazardous litigation grant.
Questions or comments?
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Bassford?
Yes.
Mr. Capola?
Yes.
Mr. Foreman is absent. Mr. Kleiner?
Yes.
Mr. Terrell?
Yes.
Ms. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Purdy?
Yes.
Okay, 170-12 is a resolution setting forth no objection to the renewal of plenary retail consumption license for Smithville Hospitality Incorporated, trading as Historic Smithville Inn and Fred and Ethel's Light Tavern. The reason for this is Mr. Capola sits on town council, and so this is considered a non-liquor license and must be approved by the state. And you have to pass a resolution saying that you have no objection to it being renewed.
We have to.
They don't have
Questions or comments?
Hey, we got your pocket.
Questions or comments?
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Bassford?
Yes.
Mr. Capola?
Abstain.
Mr. Foreman is absent. Mr. Kleiner?
Yes.
Mr. Terrell?
Yes.
Ms. Almond?
Yes.
Mr. Purdy?
Yes.
Resolution 171 is a resolution renewing alcoholic beverage licenses for Galloway Township 2012 to 2013, and you should be looking at the resolution that has a yellow highlight, because as of 4:30 this afternoon, that's the latest record that we have of our licenses that can be renewed. Everything is in order, and action needs to be taken. And do you want to make a comment before we do that?
No, there's a few that aren't on here. We're waiting for some tax certificates, correct?
Correct.
And then the other one is with JD's. We're just looking to hold that while we're trying to work a few things out with their attorneys back and forth. And you have been supplied a report this evening that I'd like you to review. And we'll have some discussion potentially at the next meeting about this for the renewal process.
So basically, we're renewing all liquor licenses that are on this particular resolution sitting in front of us.
That's correct, and the resolution is broken down by whether it's a club license, a retail license, a pocket license, a hotel exception, and plenary retail, so that I know that we are going to have a couple of abstentions for one or two of these. So if you'll note them as you vote, that would be great. Do I need a motion in a second?
Do we have questions or comments on any of the things we just reviewed?
Moves 170-12. Sorry, 171-12. Excuse me.
Okay. Mr. Bassford?
Yes.
Mr. Capola?
Abstain.
Mr. Gorman is absent. Mr. Kleiner?
Yes.
Mr. Terrell?
I'll need to abstain on 33024-008 for Stockton Finance Services, otherwise yes.
Ms. Ullman?
Yes.
Ms. Purdy?
Yes. 172-12.
Okay, 172-12, a resolution of the Township of Galloway authorizing the disposal of items that did not sell on Gov Deals.
Mr. Manager, on this particular things, some of the items that we might be talking about is basically,
It's minor stuff, lower decks, chairs, different things that are basically scrap metal that we put up an attempt to sell,
Right.
and we're just getting a response to
they've
it.
been listed multiple times
Yes.
on the online auction.
Yes.
That's broadcasted nationwide.
Yes.
And that particular stuff
Right.
just hasn't been.
Yeah, we just, nobody's buying it.
And being that it's scrap metal, are we going to
Yes.
scrap it?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're selling it anyway.
Yeah. we have money to
Just in a
spend.
different form.
Questions or comments?
Motion in 172-12.
Roll call.
Mr. Bassford?
Yes.
Mr. Capola?
Yes.
Gorman is absent. Mr. Kleiner?
Yes.
Mr. Terrell?
Yes.
Ms. Ullman?
Yes.
Mr. Purdy?
Yes.
Consent agenda. Consent agenda includes items of business which are not controversial and do not require individual discussion. A motion approving the consent agenda is moved, seconded, and voted upon as one item by the Township Council. If any discussion is requested on a consent agenda item, it is removed from the consent agenda to the regular agenda. Resolutions 167-12, support road closure for 4th of July parade in Smithville. 173-12, approved grant application for New Jersey Division of Highway Safety for 2012 Safety Mobilization Grant. 174-12, refund taxes and sewer due to overpayments. 175-12, assignment of municipal lien. 176-12, request Atlantic County for no passing signage for Door Street, Galloway County Athletic Association, and Leo Park. 177-12, calling for restoration of energy taxes to municipalities. 178-12, authorization to continue participation in the Atlantic County Urban County Program. 179-12, authorized mayor to execute and sign event contract with Blue Heron Pines Golf Club. 180-12, appoint Arch Liston to the position of acting deputy clerk. And a public hearing for an application for a special permit for a social affair at Galloway Township Elks Lodge 2845.
Questions or comments on any of the resolutions that were just mentioned?
From here on out, if anybody has any questions on the passing signage, we should probably give them a list of the freeholder dates and meeting times, and they can take a copy of this resolution to that county and press the issue there.
Absolutely. I think that's good. You know, we got a governing body with a sign. I think we did this before.
Yes, now it's fresh in our minds. We should.
And also, just so that people notice, the authorizing me to sign this agreement is we're doing a fundraiser for the township for we're calling it the Mayor's Cup to raise money for some of the youth activities in Galloway Township, and it's just authorizing us to be able to hold the golf tournament.
That's a great event. They used to do that every year. Previous administrations used to do that and raise a lot of money for our recreation programs, so looking forward to get that going again.
Great. Anybody else have any questions on any of the resolutions? Hearing none.
Second.
Roll call.
Okay, Ms. Bassford?
Yes.
Mr. Capola?
Yes, with the exception of the special permit for social affair, Galloway Township Elks, we abstain from that one. Other than that, yes.
Okay, Mr. Gorman is absent. Mr. Kleiner?
Yes.
Mr. Terrell?
Yes.
Ms. Ullman?
Yes.
Mr. Purdy?
Abstain from Elks also. Other than that, yes. Mr. Liston.
Just couple things on the special permit for the social fair with the Elks. I've been contacted by the construction official, and due to some conditions that I feel we would just request that on the fire egress that we have people stationed on that. And I spoke with the gentleman from the Elks who are in agreement, and I'll do that during the event. Due to the size of the event, the people running out of there. So we ask that be done. Thank you very much. The other thing we want to talk about is there's been some issues with the skate park. I'm with the police chief here. We've come to a situation besides the risk management part of the skate park, we are in a situation where we're getting probably about 95% non-compliance, Chief.
Chief, would you like to come up?
Yeah.
We put our...
Come up. Since you're the top complainer.
Since 2011, we've had 96 calls for service at our skate park. Additionally, since it's open, there's been like over $45,000 in
Damages
and damages that needed to be fixed.
That's just out-of-pocket expenses. That doesn't account for costs of labor that we've done ourselves to replace and repair things around there. So this is totally out-of-pocket.
Several times the department's tried to take an aggressive stance towards enforcement. I think we've all seen that it's been met with negative public backlash for us issuing summonses. Just to give you an idea for time calculations, I know there's been some questions as to why police officers don't issue them, why we aren't out there giving tickets, so forth and so on. We go out there and we see a kid doesn't have a helmet. We stop. We have to find out who they are, identify. It takes us a while sometimes to actually get the kid to tell us who they are. Then, once they tell us who they are, now we have to call their parents to verify who they are. Well, most parents work during the day, so that's not an easy feat to do. Then, if he's at the station, we have to get the parent to pick them up. And then, of course, you have to complete the report. It takes about an hour and 15 minutes to get this all straightened. If you were to take a look at exactly how many man hours we have during a 12-hour shift, it would take almost 70% of our time if we had 5 violators during that shift. Now, everybody up here knows that we've been busier now than we've been in years. We've had almost a 38% increase in calls for service from the same time this year as compared to last year. And everybody knows our staffing is also down. We really don't have time to continuously deal with the skate park. The attorneys in the room will probably verify, because it's in your face, every time we walk, or every time we walk out the door, every time we drive by the skate parks, you're probably at a significantly increased liability. Not to mention, no one wants to see a kid get hurt. And, that's, two of the main reasons why we closed it. It was just non-compliance. The officers would stop out there, talk to the kids. A lot of times there are gestures from the kids to the officers, loud mouth, back talking. They would go back to doing basically what they were doing as soon as the officer left. Most of the time the officers are going in and out. They're going to and from calls and didn't have the time or significant amount of time to sit there and try. We spoke to the manager and we ended up closing the park for a temporary solution at this point until we come up with maybe some suggestions either from you folks or the public as to how we might be able to continue with the skate park.
Thank you, Chief. Arch?
Yeah, I've had experience with skate park issues before, and there's a couple options that we can look at with this. Obviously, the first option is just to shut the thing down and retrofit it and use it for another recreational purpose. One of the second options is to attempt to get a volunteer community group together and see if they will staff it during its open hours and supervise the kids and unlock it and relock it, and almost as an group organization who could do that, and we would work with them on that. So we'd have some type of adult supervision there on a regular basis to have compliance. If something like that didn't work through, another option would be to pass an ordinance would authorize us to confiscate bicycles and confiscate the skateboards, and that when we would take them into custody, we'd have to process them just like evidence. And when the parents came in for a lease, we charge a processing fee of $75 or $50 or whatever the county council determined. Again, there's going to be a time frame there where the police officer is going to be tied up doing that. There's going to be time when release of the spikes and so forth. That's an option that if we don't get in compliance after that, or it continues to be a problem, I just can't see this park being opened and allow kids to get on there with bikes and no helmets and the whole process. I think that the police department doesn't have the time. Township shouldn't be able to afford the risk. And the bottom line is, we shouldn't have to babysit kids in the community. That's not a function of government, and I think we've got some different options we can look at.
If we did a community, community watch type program, is there a way we can empower them somewhere, or at least one, almost like a seasonal officer type deal, like the short communities do?
No, because you have to train them as class 1s and class 2s. Class 2 is the only ones of the enforcement, that's almost as much training as a regular police officer. But they would have, they'd be almost like a voluntary park ranger, if you want to call it that, and they would, a phone, they could call the police, and then the police could respond. I think that parental supervision by itself may solve some of the problems until a kid comes in and tells some parent to go. Right. The problem you're going to have is parents taking the time of 4-hour blocks here, 4-hour blocks there to come out. Most families.
I've had issues, and Don has too, out there telling the kids to, at the playground using language, jumping their BMX bikes up on the tables. I've gotten talked to by 13-year-olds like I do on construction sites. So,
by management or by union members?
It doesn't matter. And I remember when I was that age, my dad would have had his foot buried in me so far. There's just no respect, and I think the parents need to be held accountable for their kids' actions, and especially when they have no respect at all for an officer or even for a parent out of that playground telling them to cool it down.
I believe that the kids need somewhere to go. It's been a good asset to the township for the youth of Galloway. We've been very lucky that nobody has been seriously injured out there. I think the kids really enjoy it. I like the kids being able to congregate there, but as the chief said, enough is enough. And my personal opinion is I don't think the babysit watch group is going to work. I think that I think that the parents are very busy. I think that the good citizens that will give their time to babysit this particular park would be basically trashed, abused, and just like the chief had said, if they're doing it to a police officer in uniform, what are they going to do it to a volunteer? So, Arch, I love the idea. We can put it on for more discussion at the next meeting. If we pass a resolution, I'm all for the police officers going over there, or a class 2 if we do have that time, or what have you, and taking their equipment. That's the deal. You're going to lose your bike, you're going to lose it. You're going to go home and tell your mom and dad why you lost it. They're going to have to pay to get it back, and I'm sure it probably won't happen twice. So I think that that's the cheapest, easiest. I hate to see the good kids in this community lose the operational to a recreation park here on the town center property.
There's a couple rotten apples.
Right, for some troublemakers. So I think that if we pass a resolution,
it's going to have to be by ordinance. We have to do by ordinance.
Yeah. Okay, this is my own personal opinion. I think that your option to take the piece of equipment that they're on is the easiest way out. I think that the kids will know you're doing business, and hopefully this would not make one kid come in and be a sour apple, and the next thing you know they're going to start fights there because they're going to be bored. But that's my own personal opinion. I think council should talk about it.
I kind of agree with the mayor here, and with that third option being a smart option. A couple of suggestions, though, perhaps having increasing fines if there's a second.
This is not fine. Let's be clear about that.
Okay.
This is not adjudicated action. This is, we're charging them a fee to get the those have to be flat.
Yeah. So another thing that I would.
We
You're saying in addition to,
Yeah, I'm saying the first time they pay $75, the next time they pay $150. So the parents aren't going to be happy about paying $75. They're certainly not going to be happy about paying
And
$150.
we raise more money with gov deals when they don't pick up the equipment.
Totally sounds like that.
You put in the pieces of it.
Another thing I might suggest, and I don't know how you would work this, we'd probably have to check with Blair on this as well, but perhaps requiring that they come in there with a receipt showing that between the time they confiscated the bike and the time that they're coming to pay that fee, that they've gone out and purchased a helmet.
No, you wouldn't have to worry about that, because when we catch them next time, we're taking it again.
Well, I mean, if the goal is to get them to buy a helmet, the parents buy a helmet, the last thing they want to do is pay the fee, buy a helmet, and then pay a bigger
Really
fee.
equipment out there on purpose. Okay? On purpose. I mean, whether it's the blacktop or the ramps or the picnic tables, you go up to the gazebo, they stomp one of the benches in there that's broken. I mean, it's just, yeah, just they're using those BMX bikes, jumping all over everything. So
probably the last option you have it. Unfortunately, we're talking, everybody's talking about Juvan apples. It's just the opposite though. It's rare almost to see a kid with a helmet. A few times everybody buy it, it's not one or two not wearing a helmet, maybe one or two out of the 20 wearing a helmet. So it's just a reverse. So I don't know if it's going to work. I hate to see it close down, but it's amazing how, they've been talked to, I believe, but they just refused over the years. This isn't just, how long is the department open for? And it's just why it's the inception. That kids just refuse to wear a helmet. I don't get it. They go out and they spend all this money on nice skateboards and so forth and these BMX bikes, and but they won't go buy $15 or $20 helmet.
Well, maybe if we put it on the agenda for next council meeting, we put something in place and we give it a window of time. If it doesn't happen, we close it.
well, you need 2 readings of the ordinance. So
Right.
It'll get out quick.
We'll have something together for next meeting, and we'll do some research on this, and we can have a little bit of work session on it like we just did.
Can I possibly make a suggestion that since school is out right now, that we do possibly open it, especially knowing that the students know with the press and media here right now, this is what we're going to do. We are going to take the equipment, and I mean, I hate to go another month. No, I'm saying open it now.
No, I mean, we won't be able to confiscate the equipment.
Right, exactly.
Another month or so.
Yeah, but I mean, what are the police supposed to do? They can't ride by now blindly and then just say, we're not going to enforce it, if, I don't have a problem with that. But let's give it, if we have 5 incidents within the next, lock it back up, or whatever you want to agree to, Chief.
Five incidents a day, 5 incidents a week, 5 incidents total.
Period.
No, total. I mean, let's face the fact, you open up tomorrow, you ride by 3 times, I ride by twice, and that'll be it.
Okay.
And it will be closed the next day,
Yeah.
it's almost guaranteed. It's just, I don't know what it's going to take to have these kids wear helmets.
It's going to take their parents having to come fork up,
Go come and picking stuff up and pay a fee to recover it.
I just feel bad for the good kids, that's a shame. And I understand Captain Bazzer says a lot less.
Very good idea.
There's a lot less in it. It's unbelievable.
I think that the message getting out there that this is what we're going to do, we're not going to play games with it. I'm sure that the township can make another garden over here if that's what it needs to be.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff.
I just have one more thing. Does council want to consider a summer schedule for meetings? I know many towns, what they do is they reduce their meetings to 1 meeting a month in the summertime. Because of the vacation break and taking vacations, and it's just an opportunity if you want to do that or don't do that.
I think we should conduct business all through summers like we always have. I think there's too many options, too many things going on. That's my personal opinion. We do have, if somebody can't make a meeting, it's not, the end of the world for somebody to miss a meeting as long as we have a quorum. I think that, there's a lot of things still going on, budgetary issues and stuff like that we need to deal with. But anybody else have any ideas on council here? Speak.
It doesn't matter if they one or the other.
Have we done it in the past?
Yeah, we have. Like tonight's agenda is already there.
Yeah, one of the things they do is you load up your agendas for, the 9th of July, the 9th of July and August. If something does pop up, we can always advertise a special meeting and bring them in on a special meeting. We can do that. If it gets too heavy, we would advise you that we're going to have a meeting, We're just trying to work with council and give them some breaks and, vacation. It's up to you guys.
Okay, but just like the ordinance that we were just gonna, resolution we're just gonna put through for the bike park, and you got 2 months.
Well, we would if we pass it on 26th, then we would have time to move it on the July agenda. We should have 20 days after advertising, that to go into effect. So, no matter what, we're in the middle of August, even if we, get it moving right away.
How does the rest of the council feel?
Well, it's going to save some costs, right, Arch? No?
Not really. Well, the only thing is, pending, like I said, we've got pending legal actions or something, then we might have to call a special meeting, and we work around your schedules to do that. But it's up to you guys.
Michael, do you think it would affect the day-to-day?
I think Councilman Bassford's right. There may have been some times in the past where the meeting was let go, but it's hard if I'm confident that a manager can look at things moving forward to try to work around it. But on the other hand, things can pop up on this notice.
And you need 48 hours for a special?
Yes.
Well, I'm okay with it as long as everybody else is okay with it, and the manager, solicitor are fine with it. I'm okay with it as long as everybody else is.
Mr. May, can we hear from the public on this?
Absolutely, I can open it up to the public. Anybody from the public have any input on this particular? I know Mr. Mitchell has nowhere better to go twice a month.
I'd like to see it. I'd like to see 2 meetings a month. Myself. I think it's better that if you have a short meeting, or you're in and out. Something that comes up. You're always in closed session.
It's up to the council. We'll take a vote. We can take a vote on it real quick. If you guys decide that you want to do it, I have no problem supporting it either way. It is nice to do have a vacation with the family.
We're going to have one meeting in August. One in July and have one.
All right, that's a good compromise.
That sounds fair. Mr. Mitchell, are you okay with that? Thank you.
All right, so we want to have a meeting on the 14th or the 28th?
28.
Right.
How about that, Arch? Arch, could we turn around and maybe shoot an email out to everybody, let them check their schedules?
Yeah, then we'll look at any,
Because we still got time that we can talk about it in the public and bring it up.
that's fine, we're going to be on the 26th.
All right, so that's what we'll do. We're just going to have a vote on that now. We bring it up on the next.
Very good.
Okay,
Thank you
sounds
much.
good.
That's all I have.
Councilman Bassford.
Nothing, just LPJ 20% is success. I guess we don't have any problems.
No, very well.
Everything was managed.
Real successful.
All the businesses are happy, I guess, with their opening, so.
I think that's good.
Whatever,
Great. Councilman Kleiner.
Well, I got some news, and I've let most of you know. Everybody basically knows I've been looking for a home, and after 3 tries in Galloway, it was a strike, 3 strikes, I'm out. So I was forced to move to a neighboring community, and if everything works out all right, I will be moving at the end of this month, and I will have to resign from council. It's bittersweet, and I found a place for my family and myself to go. But my heart's here, and I'm going to keep my daughter here in Catholic school, and I think we've made a lot of headway as a council. We've had our ups and our downs, but we always seem to move forward, and we've cleaned some things up, and it's painful. I don't like having to, but I gave it an effort. And most of you guys know I just didn't have any luck getting a seller to agree to sell to me in Galloway. So I don't have an exact date yet. I don't want to jinx myself, but if everything goes according to plan, I will be resigning by the end of the month.
We are sorry to hear that, Mr. Kleiner. Again, he's still going to be on council until his date of moving, so he's still an active council member of this governing body. until the point comes that he does do a settlement on his home. I just want the public to know that until further notice, he is an active council member of this body. That's all I have. Councilman Terrell.
LPGA was a great event. What great weather we had for that. But in particular, I'm very happy that the senior center got opened. I think when you look at, society today compared to when I was a child, there's this lack of interaction between the youth and the seniors. And my hopes are that as we move forward with that senior center, that there is more interaction that can take place there with either the youth serving the seniors or the seniors hosting youth functions or something like that. Giving these seniors a place to congregate in Galloway Township is very important, particularly when you consider the fact that a lot of seniors move here to retire, and their children, their grandchildren are not necessarily in this township. So I'm really happy to see that that's open, and thank everybody that played a part in seeing that through to fruition. Thank you.
Councilwoman Ullman.
I just wanted to remind everybody that the Galloway Township Business Association is sponsoring the Taste of Galloway event, which is going to be held in historic Smithville and Village on the Green. Anyway, it's also to support the Hope Chest Food Bank at Beacon Church, so it's definitely for a good cause, and it's June 28th from 5 to 8 p.m. It's going to be a lot of fun, so make sure you come out.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor.
I want to echo Councilman Terrell's comments about the senior center. We were there, and besides bowling Mrs. J across the floor, which was pretty fun. We do a lot for our youth in this town. We have great athletic fields, and we've heard a lot of people saying, "Oh, we do too much for the kids." We haven't done enough for the seniors. So now we have this beautiful facility, a facility that's been used by so many organizations over the years. So many people have great memories of it, and it wasn't until the ribbon cutting ceremony that I realized how much significance that has to so many of the seniors who are in our community. And it's nice to see that building, who so many people have some great memories of, be reutilized for this. And hopefully they'll continue to have great memories for years to come in that building. And the best part is I want to thank the county, our local freeholders, because the best part of it is, true to this council with the tight purse strings, we did it in a very limited budget with almost no impact to our Galloway taxpayers. So I think that was an incredible feat. I want to congratulate the graduates of Absegami, Holy Spirit, Pilgrim Academy, Oak Crest. What am I missing?
Middle school tonight.
The middle school graduations.
And it's raining. No.
I know. At least it's not storm cloud. Dennis, we're going to miss you. We worked together on a lot of different projects, and we've championed a lot of causes together, and we don't always see eye to eye, but we always had a good working relationship, and I think you're a great asset to this council, and you taught me a lot about labor laws and contracts, and you're going to be sorely missed. You really are. And I just want everybody to have a safe and happy summer. Don't drink and drive, because if you notice in our resolutions, we passed a crackdown for drive sober or get pulled over. We kind of snuck that in there, so they'll be out there looking for you. That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Mayor, real quick, I just comment after Dennis. Has been a great asset to the council, and I hate to see him go regarding his knowledge of construction and labor and so forth, road programs and everything like that. So it's been a pleasure serving with Dennis. Best of luck to you.
Dennis, it's as your words are bittersweet. I think that we have had our ups and downs, and I think it's like any married couple. Yeah, right. When we got on council, we knew it was going to be tough. We knew the decisions that were going to have to be were tough. They were going to be unpopular. We did what we had to do. The township is still not in a very good economic state, but I could not imagine the state we would be in if we didn't do what we did at the time. So I really want to thank you for that, and as Councilman Bassford said, and the Deputy Mayor, a lot of the skills that you brought to the table is not something a normal person that would sit up on this board has the knowledge of, and I want to thank you for that. I also want to apologize. I did, at the Senior Center, announce a lot of people, and I did not thank you, and I do apologize for that. I had everything written down. I wasn't planning on doing a speech, but Arch put me up there and I just started rapping. So I do want to apologize and let the public know that Mr. Kleiner did an awful lot of work. He was in charge of the team that did the renovations on that particular building, so I really want to thank you.
Painting a few times.
Yeah, but you know, you did put time in. You met with the architects. You did some work with Mr. Benani and Mr. Wilkins and stuff like that. So I want to thank you for that, and I do apologize for that. I figured that. Councilman Bassford, I do want to thank you for your knowledge and also your foresight on the that building would not be there if the previous council in front of us did not have the site to put something together for the seniors. So I did thank you. You weren't there, but I thanked you.
It worked out good that we were able to purchase it. It's a shame that the Legion had to close and they were almost forced to it. The membership getting aging and so forth, and not staying in the being able to stay on top of it and so forth. So it worked out and for the best for everybody, I guess. Now that it's still continuing to be part of the township, it's definitely utilized now more than it was in the later years of the day.
Well, I do want to thank you. I think that it's something when previous administration plans something and they leave and they're no longer with us, or possibly they had a previous engagement at that time, that the people that are there at that time that do get put in office remember how something like that came forth, and we don't forget that, and I don't forget it. So previous council, including Mrs. Worthington and yourself, and Councilman Gorman was on there also, Abby Smith was on there, and Billy Ackerman was on the committee. So I just want to thank all you guys for what you did on that. Arch, we were discussing, I know there's a lot of talk in Maine national news and all about the school graduation, and we were in this room here having a planning board meeting when that storm was going through the school, and I had never thought about it as much as when that happened until after. When you and me met yesterday, we just were kicking around a couple things, and I think with the grants committee, I think that that's a major thing that we should be looking for, is any kind of grant money for emergency routing or road programs in that nature. That Apsagamie High School is one way in and one way out. And that could have been a real terrible, terrible event with people trying to rush out of there. God forbid there was fender benders. You had people parked on both sides of the road, so the road narrowing was small to begin with. Then you could have had some kind of, it's something that we need to look at, traffic flow-wise.
The chief and I actually went over this yesterday, went over some mapping and looked at it. And what we're going to try to do in the short term, we think we have a couple of routes we may be able to access. They're going to be dirt roads.
That's fine.
But if we can get in there and look at these, maybe we can partner with the schools and see if they'll work with us and open these routes up, so we at least access or at least we can egress the situation in an emergency with emergency vehicles. One of the things that we really looked at was there was a plan that had come in front of council or a few councilmen on discussions about the changing of the Parkway exit a little bit north of Jimmy Reed's. And in that redesign, there was a secondary way in and out that would work very well. I mean, initially when I looked at this site, it was like, this is a lot of money, blah, blah. But when we finally looked at it yesterday, after all the options, if we could look at that alternate route as a serious consideration, that would solve that problem. We'd obviously need the support of the schools for that, but we think that's probably the best solution to the problem.
Well, I appreciate it if you could spend some time. I know you're busy, but let's not lose track of where we're at here. Get in touch with the schools.
We're going to do the preliminary stuff, so we're going to clear some routes, or attempt to clear some routes right off the bat.
I did speak with Mrs. Lucia Quinto, our superintendent of our Galloway Township School. I was there for another reason, and we were discussing that, and I told her that the township manager's office / emergency manager, somebody in that nature, would want to set up a meeting with them to discuss it, because we have 3 schools in that area, not counting the Greater Egg Harbor. So we have the Galloway Township School District plus the Greater Egg Harbor, and somehow we have to connect the back sides of them to make enough.
There is some availability of some roads in between, but they're not good roads. And the way some of them are set, even with the secondary egress coming out of high school, we're still going to get some kind of clustering right at the funnel where they come out. So we're going to do the temporary stuff, at least try to get it done right off the bat, and then look at the long-term plan. I will say, though, a poor design of a school roadway is not a township problem.
Right, and I agree with that, but
they have to take their actions, and then they need to look at their situation, and I think they need to step up and take into consideration that they've got a real funneling problem there. And my concern there is if you have a real emergency in there, between parents trying to get their kids out of there and people showing up and blocking the roadways and fire vehicles and emergency vehicles, they're trapped. They got to run to the parkway. So I think we seriously have to meet with them. We have to go through this process.
Tom, if I can add to that discussion a little bit, I had reached out to them a week before graduation. I had reached out to Dr. Gatto, the principal at Absegami, with regards to the parking issue down there, and we had agreed we would meet after graduation sometime, which is perfectly understandable given how close they were to graduation at the time. And one of the concerns that she expressed to me that went beyond that conversation was indeed the access in and out. She said she was having a problem on a daily basis. They'll queue folks up to be able to drop off their kids if they're driving their kids to school. And parents won't want to wait in the queue, and they'll make U-turns in the middle of the neighborhood prior to, and it becomes a major issue almost every single morning. More disturbance for that neighborhood beyond the parking issue. And so Dr. Gatto and I had agreed we would begin discussions on that as well. One of the solutions she'd like to see would be, direct access to Wangleboro Road. Apparently there's some paper street, but of course that's going to involve, significant cost outlay on somebody's part.
there might be a grant funding out there. Chief, absolutely.
As you know, in the past, Mr. Baxter remembers years and years of problems on Wangleboro Road with the congestion. We actually had schools alter their times for pickups and drop-offs so that it helped alleviate some problem on Wangleboro Road. This isn't a problem that's occurred overnight. This has been here for a while. And I know most of you have been around and you're very familiar with it, but just to remind people in the public that this is a problem that's been here for at least 10 years that I'm aware of, and it's going to cost money to fix it. Funding is the issue.
Yeah, I don't see how you're going to. I mean, emergency route may be one thing where it's a dirt road, but to fix the where you have a daily route that people can actually use, I don't know what the solution is.
There is some stuff out there, but I just said we'll keep this short. But I agree with everybody, and everybody agrees there's an issue that maybe the chief and manager can get together. And let's turn around and since the summertime is here, maybe the schools have a little bit more time to do the meeting. So we'll leave that with that. The senior center, what a great opportunity that was to be there. I appreciate everybody that came out, the seniors that came out. I know we always start committees, but we want to have a committee together with the seniors, that the seniors have their own body that actually would be in charge of not running the seniors, but scheduling with our senior Carla Dow, that's her job. They have say on what goes on in that building. I think it's a senior building, it's senior occupied, so I think some of the issues in scheduling, put a body together for the seniors.
Veterans Advisory Board.
Yeah, exactly. But we're going to be the seniors for the senior center. So anybody out there that wants to be a part of that, please come in and give your name and information to the township manager's office.
And just let Carla, run it and set it up.
Well, I think that they would come to Arch and do the committee, and then it would be Carla's action.
Yeah, she'll be involved with
Give an answer to
I'll bring her in to work for finance into this.
Yeah, and be able to answer to Carla, and then Carla can bring her stuff to the township manager. Feel good. I mean, it's their building. Yeah, it's their building. Let them.
You couldn't have it, handed a better person.
Oh, yeah. Yep. That being said, I want to invite everybody in Galloway Township to the middle school tomorrow. Governor Christie is coming to town for one of his town hall meetings. It should be a great event. There should be a good RSVP to the governor's office. We did have a meeting with them yesterday at town hall with our emergency management, the township manager, police, EMS, to make sure everything was set with the fire department and all. So Galloway Township's in a good place. I feel honored that the governor has chosen Galloway Township to come down and have a meeting here. And this meeting is open not just to Galloway Township residents, but all the surrounding communities that want to come and be a part of this great event. So I definitely appreciate the governor's office picking Galloway Township. And anybody can attend. It opens at 1:30. It should start around 2:30 or so. And it should be about an hour and a half to an hour and 40 minutes long. Again, it's at the Galloway Township Middle School, which is over off of Reeds Road, off of Wrangleboro Road. Other than that, congratulations everybody that graduated from our local schools, and welcome to the world. Start working. Under the family wing. I'm going to open it up to public participation. Anybody has anything, please step up to the mic. State your name, your address.
Mike Thomas, the Galloway Township Office. Good luck to you, Councilman Klein, to whatever endeavor you do from here on.
Thank you.
I'm Mike Thomas. I'm the Galloway Office Public Relations. We had a kid from our thing is still in prediction of getting the $60,000 scholarship, so we're hoping she got at least a $4,000. So anywhere from $20,000 to $60,000, she still has the running. So it's really this will be her second kid. The last kid was one of 500. So we still have a shot.
Is that the essay contest?
No, that is the valuable student. We had the record number in our district. We had more kids apply for that than any other district. We had 16 kids out of our town apply for that. The most we had since then was 2. So it just shows you the financial situation that we all are in. And 4 of those 16 kids went to the Grand Lodge, which is unbelievable in the state that 4 kids out of 6 out of our town made it that far. It just shows you the quality of education, because it goes from volunteerism. It's all points. It has nothing. They don't even know who the kid is. It's strictly by points, what your grades are, what your volunteerism is, and all that stuff. It's to have 4 of our kids go there. It's really nice, and it shows you a lot. The time these kids spend in school is definitely valuable.
Right, so they're smart and they're selfless.
Yeah, it's just great. It's great to see that. And I have never seen. I'm in a breaking team. We were lucky we had 1 kid go up, but we had 4 1 year. We always had a kid go up since we had an also last year, so it tells you a lot.
Great.
The second one, we had the clothes drive for our homeless vets. We brought up a truck full of clothes for our homeless vets for our birthday on May 27th. It was really nice. Some people just dropped off clothes. So it's nice that it wasn't really that advertised. I said here at the council meeting, and a few of the members know it was really nice to see that type of involvement, that we are concerned about our vets, especially when they're home. The second one is really quite an honor that in front of our lodge on September 20th is called the Run for the Fallen Soldier. So I believe it's the 2nd year. The soldier runs on a flag for a mile, and he talks about this big kid who has fallen in Afghanistan or Iraq. To have it happen in our lodge is quite a lot. So that's also, I know it's the same day the Smithville Festival, but it doesn't take that long. I think September 20th is the Italian Festival.
I'm not sure. I'll look at that. Something I should probably know.
But it's just quite an honor just to have it our town. It's quite an honor to have it in front of our lot.
Do you have a time limit?
I will, because it's on the internet. Once, I'll send it to the council of the internet, this way you can post it wherever you, but it's really enough, like the family's there, and they get the history of this young man or young woman, and how it all happened, so it's kind of neat. I've been promoted to the Grand Lodge on the District Deputy Grand Exalted Ruler.
Congratulations.
Yeah, a lot more work, more responsibility. Now I'm in charge of the 10 lodges in this district. So it's quite a feat, but it's this lodge and the stuff we've been doing here.
Great.
We had batters up, our first one ever. We had 66 kids. 66 kids. We got it down to 30. From that 30, 10 of our kids out of 16 that can go are going August to the state finals. So it's quite, it's our first time we did who's shoot. We had 3 kids go to the state final. Now we have 10 kids going to the batters up. That's kind of neat. So we're getting more involved. We have a building now. We're a lot more involved in our community. We gave away somewhere approximately about $2,000 to the charter school next to us. We're a student of the month every month. We helped out our special needs children, and we gave away a $300 certificate to Teacher of the Year. One of the things that we're going to do this year, since I'm district deputy, we're going to do a district Teacher of the Year. Each district, each town is going to pick a teacher, and we're all going to contribute probably $50. The teacher can get anywhere from $1,000 to $500 if that teacher wins the district Teacher of the Year. So that's one of my goals this year, to do that, and we already got the paperwork involved in that. So it's going to just bring it to a different level. Now we're doing, all these towns are doing it. It'd be nice to do it at district-wide. Hopefully we'll win that.
Great.
Okay, and
we appreciate everything you do for the community. Since the Elks have been here, it's been a great asset for when you guys brought your branch from Brigantine over to Galloway Township. It's every time you come up here, it's something great to hear. It's great news for our community, our kids, and thank you for all you do.
And we really got a good core of people this time. We really do get people who are really concerned about our community. You got to understand, I think we've got about 130 members now. And out of the 130, it's only 6 people that don't live in this community. There are people that I brought here to start the lodge, to help us start this lodge. That you needed that skill. And they liked us so much. They were only supposed to help me for a couple of years. They liked it here so much that they continued to commute here from Mecca Lakes and to Brigantine and those areas because of the great work we are starting to participate in. We also are getting involved in the Boy Scouts. We had a patch made up. I was hoping to have it. We bought them. I was hoping to get it so I could show the council. We'll have it at the next council. And the reason why we did this is the fact that we're getting a lot of Eagle Scouts in our community. And we want to show something that the Elks in our community, that will have something that the Elks will have. There's something they can sew on their uniform, because we had it approved by the Grand Council of the Boy Scouts. One of our members is on the Grand Council. So she said, what's the point of giving an Eagle Scout a patch if he can't wear it? So we had, and like I said, I'll have it at the next meeting. And it's really pretty. 2 lighthouses together with the Boy Scouts. It came out really nice.
Great.
So that, and we started, the new Girl Scouts started in Galloway. They are meeting in the Elks Lodge. One of the 3rd Thursday of every month. So that's kind of neat. Seeing it like we were new, seeing the Girl Scouts are getting more and more girls all the time, so that's kind of nice. And keep Roy Hines in your prayers. You're a big help for the Lord.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks, Mike. Anybody else would come up and speak? Please give your name, address. Seeing none?